Yahweh, in the name of his only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, the Christ. Welcome to another Truth of Christ Sabbath day class. Lots of truth, lots of prophecies, lots of, things that pertain to right now, in the future. You get all of it right here. All right? So, today's class, no lollygagging, straight into it. Tariffs, taxes, and tribulation. Rise of the beast system. All right? So again, tariffs, taxes, and tribulation. Rise of the beast system. Now, for those of you that may not be aware, all right, the current president of United States of America, Donald J. Trump, has legislated some additional tariffs on several countries. And, as a result of it, certain implications have occurred, but those who in the spirit, we know that it ain't nothing new. It ain't nothing new. You understand that? It definitely ain't nothing new. But we're going to just, for those who don't understand, we're going to connect it all together so you can see how it's relevant, okay, to today and how it's relevant to the Bible. All right? For those of you who saying the Bible ain't real, stay tuned. We're going to show you. All praises. So, we're going to get into a little definitions right now, all right? About what are tariffs, all right? So, let's get that definition real quickly. What are tariffs?
What are tariffs? Tariffs are extra taxes placed on goods coming into a country.
So, again, tariffs are extra taxes placed on goods coming into a country. You understand that? Go ahead.
President Trump uses tariffs mainly on goods from China to protect U.S. jobs and businesses.
So he basically said, listen, we're going to put some tariffs, which is extra taxes on the goods coming over from China. And he said, well, it's absolutely amazing. We just did that to protect the U.S. jobs and the businesses. That's what he said, right? All right. So let's see what Trump did.
Trump put tariffs or extra taxes on goods coming into the United States from other countries, especially from China.
Uh-huh.
These tariffs were mostly on things like steel, electronics, and other products.
All right? Now, let's see, why did Trump actually impose or legislate these additional tariffs? Because everybody, going all about these tariffs. Let's see the reasoning behind why he did it. Go ahead.
He said it was to protect American businesses, bring manufacturing back to the United States, and punish countries, mainly China, for unfair trade practices.
So the thing about the U.S. is you got to understand that their job is to remain the world's leader. Okay? Their job is to make sure that they are remaining dominant. They are remaining at the precipice, at the forefront. And they know they can absolutely do so by what? They can do so absolutely by imposing what? Economic legislature that forces everyone to bow down by will or by force. So they understand the name of the game and understand this. That's why we tell you when it comes to some of y'all who come in the truth first, that regeneration is something that goes all throughout the scriptures. And you're like, wait, what? How? Regeneration? What you mean we come back? It's the same spirits. For those of you who in the truth, and you understand and you know, right? when it comes to how spirits are actually, check 1, 2, how spirits are actually revolving in the earth, you would know that this ain't nothing new. All right? So he said he did it to protect the American businesses, bring manufacturing back to the U.S., and to punish. Here's the thing. He says to punish countries. Read the last part again. Right? It says to what? To punish. All right? I just want you to zero in on that last part there. Why he said he did it.
To punish countries, mainly China,
Wow.
for unfair trade practices.
Wow. To punish them. So punishing them means what? You retain your what? Your dominance. So you got to understand, the Bible talks about, that beast with the 10 horns. We're going to get into some of that stuff. You got to understand what's happening. For some of you that watch the news, you just see it on the surface. For those of you that understand the scriptures, you know what's happening around you is all biblical. All biblical. All right? So, that's why he said he did it. But let's see what happened next. Let's see what happened. Now, mind you, Trump is only in office for how long now? Since what? January the what? The 18th or something like that? Around that time. So from then till now, all these things he has legislated. We went over some of those things before when he signed into office, all the things that he signed on, right? And some of y'all got to look out for some of that stuff because, he linked up with Elon Musk. In the public scene, but he's always been linked up with him. And now you're going to see some, very technological things coming on stream that goes into the prophecies that are going to be coming out. All right? So keep your eyes peeled for that. Now, let's see what happened as a result of Trump enforcing these tariffs. Go ahead.
What happened next? The countries hit by tariff fired back with their own tariffs on the U.S. goods.
So they fired back. So now you're having what? Tariff trade wars. Ooh. Right? Now watch this.
Prices went up for some everyday items in the U.S. because companies passed those extra costs to customers.
No, they're going to pass on the cost to the customer. In other words, it comes at a cost to you, at your expense. Everyone gets the point. So you might ask yourself, how does this affect me? How does this affect us? Because the cost will be passed on to you, the consumer. Everyone gets it. Everyone understands. Right? Read on.
Some American farmers and exporters were hurt because it became harder to sell their goods overseas.
So now it's more difficult to sell your stuff overseas because of these extra additional tariffs. So now these farmers are hurting, right? And these exporters, they're equally hurting as well because now it's more difficult to sell your things overseas than to export them overseas. So what's the bigger picture and the bigger implication in all of this? What's the bigger picture? Let's see.
Tariffs create tension between countries and shook up global trade.
Yeah, I see something what's happening here. Tariffs shaking up these things like creating tensions between countries. What does that sound like to you? Creating tensions between countries. What does that sound like to you? Tensions between country and country. Between kingdom and kingdom. It creates tension. Biblically, for those of you that in the spirit, you know what that can result in. All of these things are just the precipice of what the Bible calls the third woe. What's the third woe? World War III. But all of these things have to happen, right, before we lead up to the big shebang. So a lot of people, always ask me, you think this is going to happen now or that can happen? Listen, if you in the scriptures, you will know basically the timeline of what has to happen first, second, third. You understand that? Before Christ can come back There's certain things that need to happen, and it must happen, and it will happen. But you have to understand the timeline of prophecy and where we are in it right now. Okay? So we're at the place now where, you see what it says? Read that last part again. It creates what?
The tariffs create tension between countries and shook up global trade.
Shook up global trade. It has always happened. It has always happened when countries who impose what you call tributes. The Bible called them tributes, where you have to pay tribute to the king, tribute to the kingdom. Taxes have always been in place. Don't think taxes is a new thing in a modern society. Taxes go all the way back to Egypt. Okay? Good. So, read on.
Modern implications of trade. Trade war affects food, electronics, and jobs.
Most of the things that y'all use today. Most of everything that y'all touch and use and the tangible things, it affects those things. So you got to understand where we at in prophecy. You got to understand how it affects your livelihood. You got to so when you're watching the news, you in the truth, you can't just be watching the news like a regular person anymore and just thinking, that's just them on the news talking about stuff. You got to be seeing this through the lens of the Spirit. You got to be seeing this with a spiritual eagle eye, Brother Daniel. You understand that? You got to be seeing this thing differently. So now, some say, this latest enforcement of these tariffs was a step towards economic nationalism. Others think it's a push to a more controlled, beast-like system. And if you understand what the beast is, what's the beast? The beast is any institutionalized, governmentalized system that runs the way that you and I function in society. That is the beast. By default, you have no choice but to be a part of it because you're in the system. How do you know you're in the system? You have a birth certificate. So you're in the system. When you die, you're going to have a death certificate. It goes into the system. They know when you're born, when you die. If you have a social security number, you're in the system. If you ever had a doctor's visit, hospital visit, you are in the system. Y'all get the point. But Yahweh Shai showed us the way. And he absolutely functioned in the system. He was a part of that Roman leg of the system that during that time they had to live. Could he do anything about it? No. He even told them, he said, whose inscription is on the penny? Caesar's. So render unto Caesar's what is Caesar's. But you render unto God what belongs to God. You understand that? So, what I'm trying to show you is this. This beast-like system, where governments use money and trade as power tools, it has always been around. Not just now. Okay? So it affects food, electronics, jobs. All right? Read on.
Prices rise for everyday items.
So prices are going to increase everyday items that you and I, partake of. Read on.
Countries retaliate. Global tension increases.
So when countries retaliate, it's not just with bombs and missiles and grenades. When countries retaliate, as a matter of fact, it's almost as if a bomb dropped. It's the same effect. When countries retaliate, who gets affected? When countries retaliate in the form of additional tariffs, legislation, bylaws, amendments to laws, who gets affected? Everyone who's living and partaking in society. Okay? So, global tension is increasing because of what's happening right now. Okay? Read on.
This is a glimpse of how economy can be used as a tool of power.
Read. So now this is a glimpse. It's just a short glimpse. All right. And let me just say this before we hit the scripture. And I said this goes all the way back to Egypt. Ever since Egypt, come all the way up to Rome, right? Even from Babylon, the beast has always used economic control. And when I say the beast, I'm talking about the system. All right? Governmental systems. They've always used economic control as a form of what? Domination. So today, these systems like tariffs, taxes, sanctions, is just a shadow of a larger spiritual and prophetic picture. But those of you who in the scriptures, you know what these things are talking about. But for those of you who don't know, we're going to break it down for you. Let's get the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 9.
Reading from the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 9. The thing that had been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun.
And this is what I tell everyone. There's no new thing under the sun. This thing has been since Egypt, all right, all the way up to Rome. And even one of the biggest captivities we've been in is ancient Babylon. And in this new modern day Babylon, you're going to find that there's no new thing under the sun. These tariffs and taxes and tributes that has to be paid, everyone has to pay them. And they're paid to the system, the economic system of who's in control. All right? There's several countries that trying to maintain dominance. Okay, America, Babylon the Great. For those of you that don't know, they're trying to flex their muscle at the moment and maintain their dominance. But we all know how that story is going to go because you know the book of Revelation. If you know it like I know it, then you know what's going to happen. Give me verse 10.
Verse 10. Is there anything wherefore it may be said, see, this is new? It had been already of old times which was before us.
This thing has already been before us. You're born into a time where you think this is new. You think the word tariff means, oh, wow, Donald Trump imposed tariffs. We've never heard of this before. This thing is not new. All right? Pharaoh, he instituted this thing all the way back in Egypt. You understand that? So there's nothing new under the sun. All right? Let's get the book of Romans chapter 15 and verse 4. Romans chapter 15 and verse 4. Again, we're going to the book of Romans chapter 15 and verse 4.
Reading from the book of Romans chapter 15 and verse 4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope.
So the thing is, because those things happened before, you can have hope that you know what's going to happen again. Because these things were written for your what? Your learning. So you learn from your past. If you don't know where you're coming from, you don't know where you're going. You don't know where you're headed. So you can always go back to history and use it as a tool of what? A tool of what? Learning. So if you learned what happened before, then you know what's going to happen now. Y'all get the point? Good. So don't be dumbfounded and going around the place asking, yo, Ak, what you think happen in the future, Ak? What you think gonna happen? That's somebody who not spiritual and someone who literally does not know the scriptures. That's who goes around asking, yo, Ak, what's gonna happen, Ak? Listen, Akiam, what's going to happen? Now, those who in the scriptures, we know what's gonna happen. All right? Good. So it's written for your learning. Let's go back all the way back to Egypt so we can see the things that were written aforetime, all right? Exodus chapter 1 and verse 11. Exodus 1, verse 11.
Reading from the book of Exodus chapter 1, verse 11. Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom, and Ramses,
So it says the Egyptians set taskmasters over the Israelites. I don't know about you. If you know what taskmaster is, they're the ones that supply you with your job. They're the one that you got to basically get paid from. But the thing is, when you get paid from your employer, right? And you got to kick back a certain amount of money back to them. That's also when you get afflicted with your burdens. Because one of the most toughest part of captivity is paying taxes. You understand that? Taxes and tariffs. And going all the way back to Egypt, we had to do that thing. It says the Israelites built Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom, Ramses. Okay? So Pharaoh built the wealth of Egypt by exploiting the labor of the Israelites. Everyone gets that? It's like working for no money. Because even if you make some money, it goes right back to where? Back to your taskmasters. You get the point, right? All right. Let's flow over to Moab and Mesopotamia, all right? Where we had to pay tribute to the tribute, and we got military oppression over there. All right, we had to pay tributes. Go ahead, Judges chapter 3 and verse 8. Judges chapter 3 and verse 8.
Reading from the book of Judges, chapter 3 and verse 8. Therefore the anger of the Lord was hot against Israel, and he sold them into the hands of Chushan-Rishantah, king of Mesopotamia, and the children of Israel served him 8 years.
Served him 8 years. So now, the anger of the Most High God was hot against us, right? And he gave us over into the king of Mesopotamia's hands, right? So you got to understand, when Israel turned from God, they were economically dominated by foreign rulers. So again, this ain't nothing new. This happened time and time again. Every time the Israelites sinned against their God, the Most High, part of his sword is not just being oppressed physically. You know, the book of Psalms mentions that he uses the other nation as his sword against Israel. Part of his sword is not just physically, like the physical oppression. Okay? Part of the oppression is also what? Going into what? Economic depression. Economic depression. All right? Good. So, we're going to go to the book of Baruch, chapter 1 and verse 2 in the Apocrypha. And I'll just give a little backdrop really quickly. All right, the book of Baruch, chapter 1 and verse 2. All right. Now, this time period, all right, is around the time of the Babylonian exile, roughly around 586 BC. Just to give you a little backdrop. So think of it this way. Okay? The captivity that we were in was the Babylonian captivity. Now the Israelites had been conquered by King who? During the Babylonian captivity, who were the Israelites conquered by? King who? Nebuchadnezzar. All right, good. So a lot of Israelites were taken from Jerusalem to Babylon. Right? Now Baruch, just to give you a little backdrop on Baruch. Baruch, he was the scribe of the prophet Jeremiah. Again, Baruch was the scribe of the prophet Jeremiah, and he's writing on behalf of the Israelite exiles in Babylon. Okay? So always remember that. Baruch was a scribe for Jeremiah, and he's writing on the behalf of the captives in Babylon. Good. Baruch chapter 1, verse 2.
Reading from the book of Baruch, chapter 1 and verse 2. In the 5th year, and the 7th day of the month, what time as the Chaldeans took Jerusalem and burned it with fire.
They burnt Jerusalem with fire. Come on.
Verse 3. And Baruch did read the words of this book in the hearing of Jeconias, the son of Joachim, king of Judah, and in the ears of all the people that came to hear the book.
Read on.
Verse 4. And in the hearing of the nobles, and of the king's son, and the hearing of the elders, and of all the people, from the lowest unto the highest, even all of them that dwell at Babylon by the river of Sod.
Come on.
Whereupon they wept, fasted, and prayed before the Lord.
They wept, fasted, and prayed before the Lord. Remember, Baruch is writing on behalf of the exile in Babylon, right? Read on.
They made also a collection of money according to every man's power.
What does that mean? They made a collection of money according to every man's power. They were collecting money from everyone. In other words, they were taxing everyone. Everyone got taxed. So this ain't nothing new when it comes to taxes, tariffs, tributes. The Bible calls it tributes. You got to pay tributes. All right? So they made a collection of money according to every man's power. Verse 7.
And they sent it to Jerusalem unto Joachim, the high priest, the son of Shelasius, son of Salom, and to the priests, and to all the people which were found with him at Jerusalem.
So they sent it to Jerusalem. You understand that? Give me verse 7.
Verse 7.
But that was verse 7, right? That was verse 7, right? Yes, that was verse 7. Good. So now we're going to jump over to Baruch chapter 3 now. Okay? We're going to jump over to Baruch chapter 3 and verse 7. All right? Baruch chapter 3 and verse 7.
And for this cause thou hast put thy fear in our hearts, to the intent that we shall call upon thy name and praise thee in our captivity. For we have called to mind all the iniquities of our fathers that sinned before thee.
Now let me ask y'all a question. When it comes to when you wake up every day in this captivity, and even though you're making money, and even though, you know, you may have a job, right? You may have somewhat of a stable income. What pains you the most about the, mind you have a job, you have a stable income. What pains you the most about having a job and having money come in? Somebody say what? Okay, so one person said bills. What say you, Brother Daniel? People asking for more money? Okay, what about you, Soldier Kabar? You can't see your way, right? Okay, good. You can't see your way. So now, all those things combined that you mentioned, imagine waking up every single day and that is your life. What would that lead you to think and to do? Some people check out mentally by going into escapism. Some people check out by just checking out a society and just losing their minds. Right? So some people use escapism like the form of drugs, alcohol, drug use, getting high out their mind, because this society is too much to bear the reality of it all. So that's why brothers smoke crack, to escape the feeling of reality. That's why brothers smoke meth. The book of Deuteronomy 28 mentions that's why the Most High will smite you with madness, because you failed to follow these commandments. All right? So to the brothers out there that checked out the life, we understand why you did it, but the thing that you disregarded was you didn't come back to your heritage. You didn't come back and understand why these things are happening. You didn't get a full understanding. All right? Now, read verse 7 for me again. I want to ask a question.
Reading from the book of Baruch, Baruch chapter 3, verse 7. And for this cause has put thy fear in our hearts, to the intent that we shall call upon thy name and praise thee in our captivity. For we have called to mind all the iniquities of our fathers that sinned before thee.
So now, why do you think the Most High would put that fear in your heart? There's a reason for it. To put fear in your heart, so that you can call up. Why would he want you to call upon his name in this captivity? To remember what? To remember what? The covenant that you broke to return? Okay. What would make you call upon his name though? Read verse 8.
Verse 8. Behold, we are this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us for a reproach and a curse, and to be subject to payment.
Subject to?
Payment.
Subject to?
Payment.
Payments, taxes, bills. Read on.
According to all the iniquities of our fathers, which departed from the Lord our God.
You can't get away from this thing, no matter how much you try. No matter how much you try to survive in this place, and it's been going on since then till now, you must pay your dues. You're going to pay, and it's going to feel like you're paying till you die. And even after you die, you still got to pay. To get buried costs you $15,000, $15,000. And they're going to ask you if you're paying cash or card. You understand that? If there's anything that you owed before you die, and you died, the bill gets passed on to the next of kin. That person inherits your debt. So even in death, your debt is not erased. Some people feel like, once I dead, I good to go. No, they contact your next of kin, whether it's your wife, whether it's your children, they want payment. And they're going to make their lives a living hell until they either pay or sell their soul to get it. They want that payment because they couldn't get it from you. You died, and now, and I wish we had a banker in here today. They would tell you that is absolutely true. That's why they call it a mortgage. You know the word mortgage? You ever wonder why it's the word mortgage? It's the same derivative of mortuary or mortal or mortality. It's because you're walking around with your death hanging around your collar. It's like you got to pay that till you die. That's why it's called a mortgage. You fail to pay that, it's going to get passed on to the next of kin. Or they take it back and you got to pay a portion of it still. But what we're trying to show you is this. The Most High said he put that fear in your hearts so that you can call upon his name in this captivity. But he wants you to call upon his name and understand all these things you've seen happening around the world with these tariffs and these taxes and this tribulation. It has everything to do with you. It has everything to do with the Israelites. It has everything to do with what the covenant that we made with our forefathers. All of it is because of, so don't think of yourself as being insignificant in this story. If you're an Israelite, everything that's happening around the world right now is because of what we did. You understand that? So I'm not saying we're taking the credit for it, but the Most High allowed these things to happen around the world because of the things that your forefathers did. So see yourself as a bigger part of the picture, not insignificant. So you got to look at the news different. When you see these things happening, understand it's because of Israel's sin. Right. Good. Now it says, behold, we're this day in our captivity, where the Most High scattered us for a reproach and a curse to be subject to payments. But the Most High wants to apply the pressure enough to make you what? Absolutely. Come back to his covenant to repent. That's why he's going to apply the pressure and keep applying the pressure. That's why you're going to feel like you're going crazy in this captivity. That's why more tariffs, more taxes, more oppression, more tribulation. The Most High has to do it. Why? Because for some people, they will realize the tribulation and the anguish and the torture and use that to change. But for some people, they get more what? They get more wicked. Y'all get the point? So for some, they will use what's happening to change. And for some, they will use what's happening as an excuse to check out of life and say, boy, they ain't got no God. There ain't no God. All these things happening because it can't be God care about us. Someone just live how I want to live and wild out. That will be one half. The other half will say, listen, we're going through too much. There's a reason why God is doing this to us. Let us use this to change. Y'all get the point. Good. So that's why he put that fear in your hearts. Okay? So that you can call upon his name during this captivity. Good. So now, you want to joke, Soldier Gabar? You want to joke? Could you believe the Israelites reached back to Egypt again? Again? Let's get the book of 2 Kings 23 and 21. The book of 2 Kings 23 and verse 21.
Reading from the book of 2 Kings, chapter 23 and verse 31. Jehoahaz was 23 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 3 months in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Hamutal, the daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah.
So King Jehoahaz, he was 23 years old when he began to reign. All right? And you're going to see what happens after he became king, after he started to reign. Verse 32.
Verse 32. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his fathers had done.
He did all the evil works that his forefathers and all the kings before him came. He did just that. Okay, he did that which was evil. So let's see what happened as a result. Because once the king is evil, what happens? The people are going to be evil. Right. All his subjects are going to be evil. All right, read on.
And Pharaoh Necho put him in bands at Riblah in the land of Hamath, that he might not reign in Jerusalem, and put the land to a tribute of 100 talents of silver and a talent of gold.
Could you believe, Soldier Gabar? We gone back into captivity, into Egypt again. And now Pharaoh Necho, right? He put him in bands at Riblah, that he may not reign in Jerusalem. And then he put the whole land to kick up a tribute or taxes, all right, of 100 talents of silver and a talent of gold. That's everybody got to pay this thing. Imagine that. But if you think of it this way, that's some of the conditions that y'all living under right now in these islands. For those of you in the islands that's watching right now, do you know that your country imposes taxes so that they can pay it to who they're indebted to? When they borrowed big loans, big funds for projects, right? Pocket some of it for themselves. I won't get into that part. But the big funds that they source for projects, and they got to pay back the loan. Where you think the money for the loan comes from? The taxes. It gets passed on to the consumer. And that's why you got to, in St. Kitts and Nevis, for those of you that don't know, we're paying one of the highest value-added taxes in the region of the Caribbean, in the entire region. You understand that? And they didn't start to bring it down. Now, of course, the current Prime Minister, Dr. Terence Drew, said, you know, as a promise, he would bring it down from 17 to, I think it was 12 for the first, 6 months, right, to give a little relief. But you know the thing about it is, raise your hands if you go to the supermarket and you saw any relief since the VAT went down from 17 to 12. Have you seen any relief in the price change? In some cases, you're seeing what? Prices either remaining the same or getting even higher. So it shows you there's different costs being passed on to the consumer, right? And a lot of times the problem ain't so much your local prime minister, you know. It's the legislation that get imposed on them by outside factions. Y'all get the point. But by default, they got to pass it on to you. They're just trying to run the country the quote-unquote best way they know how. But oftentimes, they're casualties of war, and you guys are the casualties of war. That's all it is. They're running a business, and you guys catch some strays. That for some people, strays could take you out though. A stray could catch you and oops, you're out of here. Right? So now, these foreign taxes, they drained Israel's wealth. All right? Now, did you read verse 34? Go ahead, verse 34.
Verse 34. And Pharaoh Necho made Eliakim the son of Josiah king in the room of Josiah his father, and turned his name to Jehoiakim, and took away Joahaz away, and he came to Egypt and died there.
And he died there. Read on.
And Jehoiakim gave the silver and the gold to Pharaoh, but he taxed the land to give the money according to the commandment of Pharaoh.
Whoa, so he taxed the land to give the money according to the commandment of Pharaoh. So who instituted this? Pharaoh. Read on.
He exacted the silver and the gold of the people of the land, of everyone, according to the taxation, to give it unto Pharaoh Necho.
So you see that according to his taxation. So he had different tax brackets based on, how much money this person could give. It's based on that. Just like today. If your business making a certain amount of dollars, you got to pay more in taxes. Right? Yeah, definitely. What's they call? Inland revenue. Inland revenue hit me with the old hoop-de-hoop last week. Yeah, man, they reached out. They're like, hey, man, listen. You notice that one of your businesses, then it needs some things that you forgot to deal with in December 31st. We said, oh, really? Yeah, so here's the thing. We want not only whatever was supposed to be paid, we want that. We want the late fee. We want the late fee on top of the late fee, then a percentage on the late. So, and this is the first time I see this thing happen. So I'm like, wait, what's going on here? I seen all kind of figures and numbers, and I'm like, and Zuriah showing me this thing like, yes. I'm like, what? Listen. I said, listen. Let this be a learning lesson. You got to render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. You can't get away from it. So we had to deal with that. And then it just was a stark reminder in the back of my head. Like, if you try to do things under the table, you're going to get found out. And the thing is, the Bible says when you try to take shortcuts, you're going to pay what? Twice as much. You're going to pay double. Do things the right way the first time. Right? But be glad when things get caught early so that it doesn't compound. It doesn't get compounded. Otherwise, you're going to be up creek with no paddle. You understand that? So you got to be able to know these scriptures, know what happened before, know what's happening now. These taxes is to drain your wealth, is to force the people to work to pay another nation. Another nation. That's what's happening. Right? Give me Nehemiah chapter 5 and verse 3. Nehemiah 5 and verse 3.
Reading from the book of Nehemiah, chapter 5 and verse 3. Some also there was that said, we have mortgaged our lands, vineyards, and houses, that we might buy corn because of the dirt.
Imagine that, Soldier Gabar. These guys had to go and mortgage their lands and their vineyards and even their houses that we might buy corn because of dirt. So in other words, imagine you got to go sell all that you have just to pay your what? Your taxes. That's crazy, right? Read on.
There were also that said, We have borrowed money from the king's tribute, and that upon our lands and vineyard.
So it says we have borrowed money for the king's tribute. In other words, for the king's taxes. So isn't that insane that you got to go and take a loan to pay your taxes? That's the height of insanity right there. But that's the economic oppression that the Most High placed on his people when we're not keeping the commandments. Imagine you got to go sell your house, Soldier Bar. Right? Brother Daniel, imagine you got to go and sell your possessions and your belongings just to have enough money to pay your taxes to the king. When you're done, what you're left with? You're a pauper when you finish. But the Most High put that big squeeze on you, like it mentions in the book of Baruch, so that you can call to mind the wickedness that you and your forefathers did, so you can change. That's why he's applying the pressure. You understand that? And we're absolutely going to feel some pressure because of these tariffs that Trump has imposed. The Americans are going to feel it. The Caribbean is going to feel it. Other countries that do trade with them are going to feel it. Right? Give me verse 5.
Verse 5. Yet now our flesh is as the flesh of our brethren, our children as their children. And lo, we bring into bondage our sons and our daughters to be servants.
Imagine that. You get sons and daughters that born during this time. And they only come into this world. They're only born into this world. Not knowing anything. But you know that they're born into this world being a what? A servant. I heard a statistic some time ago says that whatever country your children born in, whatever economic debt that's over that country, your child already is a statistic. Meaning that for every person that has to pay tribute or taxes to help pay back for the country's loans or whatever they're paying for, you're a statistic. You're a number. Right? Everyone is a number. Because these children in this captivity, it says, we bring them, our sons and our daughters, into bondage to be what? Servants. Read on.
And some of our daughters are brought unto bondage already. Neither is it in our power to redeem them. For other men have our lands and vineyards.
It's not in your power to redeem them. Just like Deuteronomy 28 says that no power will be in your hand. No might will be in your hand. Right? You're going to have to let it happen. What is saying in the UK? Allow it, bruv. Allow it, bruv. You got to allow it. You can't do nothing about it. I can't do nothing about it. You're born into that system. Your children are born into that system. Y'all get the point. So the only thing you can do is do what our King Yahushua did. He learned to function in the world, not of the world. Y'all get the point. So you come into this world and you learn how the world works. You learn how the legislation works. You become an expert at how it works. And you learn how to maneuver and how to navigate. And once you learn these scriptures and you know what's going to come, you know what's happening, you know why it's happening, you're now becoming an expert because Christ laid out the groundwork and the blueprint for you. And that's why you cannot ignore Christ's words. He showed you how to operate in a system, in a beast-like system, because the beast was risen even during those times, rearing its ugly head. They had to pay taxes to Rome. Caesar's face was on the inscription of the money. They couldn't do anything about that. But Yahushua told you how to operate. In the world, not of the world. Learn how to navigate. All right? So you still got to make sure you pay your taxes on time. Because if you don't, you're going to go to jail. If you don't, you're going to have to pay fines. If you don't, it comes with other implications. You cannot get away from. What the Lord is trying to show you is He put those systems in place. Y'all don't get that. Y'all ain't following me. Y'all think that, oh, Esau had the ability to do it on his own and he just was just so wicked as he wanna be, so he went on his own volition and the nation of Esau just set up all these systems for you to just not adhere to. No, that means you don't understand the Bible. The Lord put Esau in position, and he enforced these things, and he made sure that you cannot get out of it. You're subject to it. You're a slave to it. You're in captivity to it. The Lord is the one who did it. He enforces it. Y'all get the point? So you cannot get away from it. You have to pay your taxes. That's what's going to make you turn back to the Lord. I want y'all to understand something. Let me make a statement like this. Y'all can put this on record. Paying your taxes and being economically drained is the thing that will make you turn back to the Lord by force. Paying your taxes will make you run back to the Lord. Put that on record. So stop thinking you need to run away from your taxes because that's not of the Lord. But paying your taxes will make you turn to the Lord. That comes out of the book of Baruch, chapter 1 and chapter 2. Y'all get the point? Stop running from your judgment, brothers. Your judgment is there to make you turn back to the Lord. But the thing is, you're trying to find, what do you call that? A wiggle room. You're trying to find like some way around it. You're trying to navigate around your judgment. No, you cannot. These taxes will make you turn back to the Lord. You want to be in business? You want to do all these things while you're in this captivity? No problem. But you're going to pay for it. And should you not pay, you could have all these dreams you want to have. All these dreams of making money, but guess what? You're going to pay for it. As this age-old saying goes, it costs to be the boss. And as one mentor told me many years ago, he said, you're only as big as the bills you pay. You thinking you big? Let's see your bills. Let's see what your bills look like. That's how you know if somebody really out here doing it for real. Look at their bills. You can't say somebody out here doing it big. Yeah, boy, I respect that person there. But yeah, they're making a lot of money. It's not about how much money you make. It's about how much money you retain. Don't be so impressed. Oh, that person there, they're making a lot of money. They're flossing. It's not about how much money you make. It's about how much money you retain. And the other nations, they know how to retain money because you're paying them. You got to pay them to live. You got to pay them to eat. You got to pay them to breathe. You got to pay them to feed your children. You have to pay them. So they know about retaining money. You know about paying money. But the Lord set that up to squeeze you into submission. So some of y'all don't realize what the Lord has been doing. So when you see these tariffs and these taxes, you better say, Kal halal Yahweh Shem Yahushai. You're running away from your taxes. So, hey, Ak, I got to fight the system and dip and dodge from the system. You know, hey, Ak, you know the system is Esau, right? We ain't got to study Esau. We could dip and dodge and beat the system. You a fool. The moment Esau find you out, they're going to bury you in debt. Or worse yet, bury you under the jail. You think because you were an actor and you acting on Hollywood, Wesley Snipes had to go to prison for tax evasion. Look up some of your best Hollywood stars. They said, listen, the IRS on you right now, if you don't come pay your taxes, we're going to give you like 15 days. Some people reached on the next morning. They said, listen, I can't go to jail. I got more roles to play. Some of them came up with the money on the spot. That shows you they had the money, right? But what I'm trying to show you is this. The squeeze that the system, the beast system will put on you will force you to turn to God because you will have no other option but to cry out in agonizing pain, Lord, make it stop. And if that don't make you turn to the Lord, I don't know what will. So for those brothers who be trying to run from the system, you're trying to run from your judgment. You're trying to run from accountability. You got to take some accountability. Your forefathers sinned and you sinned. Now you're trying to run away from it and evade it? No, you're going to pay for it. You're going to pay for all of it. All of it. And some of those sins you did in the truth, you're going to pay for it. The Lord gonna tax you. You're getting taxed. But tell yourself, Kal halal Yahweh Hashem Yeshai, thank you, Father, for implementing that system because it made me turn to you. Because when you turn to him, he gonna make sure, just like Yahweh Shai, you had enough to pay back to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Yahweh Shai was no here dipping and dodging and, oh, I ain't got to pay Caesar because, they Edomites. He didn't teach the camp that. He told the camp, give Caesar what belonged to him. Yahweh Shai never told them to evade the authorities. And some of you brothers who say you in the truth, you're all here trying to lie to the police, lie and dip and dodge, talking about you ain't got no license and you dipping and dodging and you all here ducking into, hey, that system was set up by Britain, so we ain't got to pay attention to them and we got to, guess what they're going to do to you? They're going to put you in that prison, and while you're in prison, you better get on your knees and thank the Lord for such a system that he implemented to squeeze you into submission. But some brothers, Soldier Gabar, no matter how much they fall into the hands of the system, they just won't learn. Just won't. So the Lord going to do with them what he will. You understand that? But for you brothers who wise, you brothers make sure you do things by the book. As long as it's not going against God's laws, you make sure you abide by the systems that the Most High put in place. When you read the book of Romans, he put these governments in place for what? To make sure every man follows what he set up to be in place. This is for your good. Leave Israelites to run themselves and govern themselves right now. What would we do? You would run amok. You would go crazy. You would wild out. So these systems are put in place by the Lord to keep you in line, man. Does it hurt? Yes. Does it come with you being chastised? Yes. Does it come with drain in your pockets? Yes. But it's good because it helps you to turn to the Lord. And what Christ taught them is, once you live by every word that comes out of the Most High's mouth, you're going to have enough. You're going to have enough to give to Caesar. You're going to have enough to feed your family. You're going to have enough. He says, don't even worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow going to see for itself. Why are you worried? You're going to have enough for everybody. Caesar, your children, your family. Don't worry about that. You're going to have enough for your taxes, Soldier Gabar. Once you dedicate your life to the Lord, you come back to the Lord, He's going to make sure you got enough. Because he put Caesar in place. Because they got wicked Israelites running around here talking about they want to evade the law. That's why the law going to catch them. The Lord put that in place. Y'all get the point. So whatever you're doing, brothers, you're going into business, you're going into entrepreneurship, don't try to do things under the table. You're going to get found out one day. And the Bible says you're going to got to pay twice as much, even more. Do things the right way, but then turn to the Lord while you're doing it. Come back to the covenant while you're doing it. You're going to have money to pay your workers, pay the bills, pay Caesar, the inland revenue, right? And the Most High going to take care of everything else. You don't, you're going to just keep applying. You know when you're in a headlock and the pressure just keep getting applied to your noggin crack, that's what he's doing to us. But it's good. For some of you, you will use that, turn to the Lord, but some of y'all are going to use that to get more wicked, talk about, all these taxes got to be God, don't exist. I'm going to just live life the way I want to live life, get money. Y'all don't know what you're talking about. All right? What verse was that? That was verse 5? Good. So they had to do what? Mortgage their lands, mortgage their vineyards, just to pay these taxes. Your sons and your daughters being born in captivity. It's happening right now. All right? My children ain't no different. They got to grow up and they got to pay their taxes. I'm going to tell you, listen, if you don't pay your taxes, I'm going to teach them exactly what's going to happen to them. You're going to go to jail. And I ain't coming to bail you out neither. Oh, Cap, you being so tough on your daughter. I taught her well. She's not going to do that if I taught her well. I'm not coming to reward you for your disobedience. No. Maybe while you're in there, you're going to come back to the things me and your mother taught you so that you could turn to the Lord. That thing helps you to turn to the Lord. Give me Deuteronomy 28 and verse 48. Deuteronomy 28 and verse 48.
Reading from the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 48.
Come on.
Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck,
So it says
until you have destroyed thee.
Good. It says the Lord. The Lord sent them against you. The Lord put tariffs on you. The Lord is who put taxes on you. The Lord set up your enemies so that you got to pay them. You're going to serve your enemies. Everything you work for goes back to them. Every dollar you make goes back to them. You might think, well, wait, I just got to pay my taxes and the rest is mine. No. It says you still got to buy water from them, food from them, clothes from them, electronics from them, everything from them. But here's the thing. They know they have you in captivity, Brother Daniel. But now, with you being in captivity, and they know that you got to come to them. You know it, they know it. But because you got to come to them for everything, the thing that they know that you might not know is you will now see them as what? If you're in captivity and you have someone supplying you with all of your needs, what will you see them as? Can anyone tell me? If I have you locked, let's put it this way, Brother Daniel. I kidnap you. I lock you in a dungeon, right? And you're in a dungeon in my cellar underneath my house. I bring you food. I bring you water. I bring you juice. I bring you sandwiches. I bring you chicken. I bring you fried chicken. You like fried chicken, right? Yeah, you love some fried chicken. I know it. I bring you the tenderest, crispiest, flakiest fried chicken you could ever imagine. And that thing tastes so absolutely succulent as you bite into that chicken. The juices just lightly glaze down your lips like, ooh, you're smacking your lips like this chicken is the best chicken I've ever tasted. How will you then start to view me as the days go by? Every day I bring you chicken, I bring you banana bread, I bring you, you name it. Everything that you like to eat, I bring it to you. How will you then start to see me? As kind, right? Okay, there we go. We're getting somewhere now. You will see me as kind. What else will you see me as? I bring you clothes. I bring you nice sneakers. I bring you the best baseball hats, the best collection of baseball hats you could find. I bring that to you. Jeans, I got you. Sneakers, I got you. The food is nothing, I got you. I bring you a supply of food every day. Clothes, you name it. I give you a TV in the cell. I let you watch whatever you want. The remote belongs to you. It's an unlimited subscription to all the shows you could watch. How will you then view me? You got video games in there. You got, you name it. It's in there. How will you then view me? A well-paid person? Okay, but then will you see me as someone that's holding you captive? I'm holding you captive, but will you see me as that? No. You wouldn't see, because you're getting everything that you want. So after a while, you will not think that you're in captivity. You will think this ain't so bad. Okay, the walls might be a little bland and a little gray, but I got unlimited internet. I got food, the best fried chicken you could ever eat. I got sneakers, I got clothes, right? You in the cell though. You start to think this ain't so bad. You will start to see me as a savior. You will start to see me as a knight in shining armor. You will start to now start blaming someone else for putting you in that cell. You will start to look at every other reason other than me as the reason why you're in there, even though I'm the one that put you in there. Right? You start to blame yourself. You start to blame others. But you will never blame me. You would never look at me and say, I'm the reason why. That's the whole ploy of the other nations that did this to you. So that they were the ones who caused it, but also they want you to look at them as the knight in shining armor that saved you out of it. Follow me. So the tariffs and the taxes that are implemented, they know to implement these, it's going to be rough on y'all, but you're going to have to soon see them as the knight in shining armor. You get the point? So now, read it again. Therefore thou shalt serve thine
enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things.
That's why, my brothers, if you tell someone in the world that Esau is the devil that the Bible speaks of, they will fight you tooth and nail and tell you no. They see Esau as the knight in shining armor, the savior, because Babylon has all the things that they supply you with. They would never see them as that. And when you were on the plantation, we had Stockholm Syndrome. Meaning, you forgot that this person had you in captivity. This person whips you, whips the skin off of your back every day, but they give you lemonade. They give you a little water. They give you a little slop from the kitchen that they feed you with. You see them as, oh, Master ain't so bad. Master trying to get us to work, you hear? Master just trying to make sure we's good and strong so we can go in the field and work. You in captivity though. Oh, I got me some hand-me-down from Masters so I could wear. It has holes, it has, but you look at Master as the knight in shining armor. And that's why some people will fight you today tooth and nail, Brother Daniel, when you tell them that Esau, the white man, is the devil. But it's a whole, the devil never shows up with a pitchfork and horns. He shows up as everything you've ever wanted. And he shows up telling you, it's going to be absolutely amazing. America is going to be great again. Absolutely great. Absolutely amazing. Everything. Me and Elon Musk, we will just make everything amazing. That's how the devil shows up. He shows up like everything you've ever wanted. But a lot of people are getting buyer's remorse now after they realize, oh, shoot, the devil ain't really, that's not who we wanted to put in power. Y'all saw that little clip online where this man, he died and he went before the angel, and the angel gave him the choice. What do you want to go to, heaven or hell? And he said, before you choose, I'm going to give you a glimpse of what heaven looks like. And it's, you know, all the saints around, you know, just praying to the Most High. And he said, I'm going to give you a glimpse of hell. Took him to hell. There's 5-star hotels, chilling on the beach, pools, music, all the best entertainment, you name it. And then he started to think, yo, hell ain't so bad. Right? So he reached back in front of the angel, and the angel asked him, what do you want to choose? And he said to the angel, I've made up my mind. I'm going to stay in hell. All my friends are there. You know, it's nice pools and 5-star hotels and all the best foods and entertainment you could name. He said, no problem, thou sayest. Now he get transported to hell. The whole imagery changed. He know in burning cauldrons of fire, lava, brimstone, people bawling out, crying out. Ah! He's like, what's going on here? What's this? And then he see Satan over there. And he said, what happened to the pool and the hotel and the entertainment? And he said, well, that was when we was campaigning. No, you don't vote. So welcome. That was a clever skit. Whoever made that skit, props to them. He said, that's when we were campaigning. No, you don't vote. Welcome. Wow, that's going to happen to a lot of people though. Okay? They get fooled by the delusion. And Esau knows to give you a delusion, he gives you everything you want. So when it comes to tariffs and taxes and all these things, guess what? They're going to swoop in like the knight in shining armor. And don't be surprised, you're going to hear the president saying, okay, we've revised some of these things and we're going to remove the tariffs and we're going to, we know what's coming, right? So it says, in want of all things, He shall put a yoke of iron around your neck until he have destroyed thee. And the destroyedness is you not knowing that there's a yoke around your neck still. The destroyedness is you not knowing who you are, what's happening right now. You have no idea what's happening in the world. You're destroyed. All right? Give me the book of 2 Thessalonians 2 and verse 3. 2 Thessalonians 2 verse 3.
Reading from the book of 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 3. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that they shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed.
That man of sin be revealed.
The son of perdition.
The son of perdition. Who is the man of sin? Before I tell y'all, who is the man of sin? Who is the son of perdition? Esau, absolutely. Give that brother a hand. All praises. So now, the thing is, he has been revealed. You have seen that the Most High put him in position. You know what his father blessed him with, the dew of the earth, everything that the dew covers. He has access to that thing. He has shown you the kingdoms he has subdued. When you read the book of Daniel, oh, okay, we'll deal with it after. We know through the scriptures who is the son of perdition. It's Esau, but many of you don't think he is. But he's already been revealed. But it says a falling away must come first. What's that falling away? What's that falling away? The falling away from the truth. Right. But it has already happened. Has the falling away already happened? Absolutely. It's happening every day. So the son of perdition is revealed. We know it's Esau. Give me 1 John 2 and 18. Now, a lot of people think that when it comes to the Antichrist, right? That when it comes to the Antichrist, it's this one individual that will come on the scene. You know, like the movies you saw when you were little. One individual that will come on the scene and assume total world domination, and he is the Antichrist. No, 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 no. Read that for me, 1 John 2 and verse 18.
Reading from the book of 1 John, chapter 2 and verse 18. Little children, it is the last time, and ye have heard that the Antichrist shall come. Even now are there many Antichrists.
There are what?
Many Antichrists.
There are many Antichrists, because Antichrist just means opposing Christ, anything that is against Christ. One of the biggest Antichrist factions that has been set up is the Christian church. All right? Understand what, that's a part of the system, is a part of the beast. Understand what the beast is, Brother Daniel. The beast is a whole system. And it involves all the systems of the world, whether it's educational, financial, religious, okay? All of these institutions, the economic systems, and the beasts have different legs, okay? And different horns. The horns go into these leaders of these different nations, all right? But you got to understand the role in which the beast plays. The beast is there to make sure you conform to it. The beast or the machine is there to make sure that you abide by it and you don't go against it and you don't transgress the legislation that the system has set up for you. All right? So we know that the man of sin, he's already revealed. The son of perdition, he's already revealed. That's Esau. You already know that. All right? But it says there are many antichrists. So how many antichrists are there? Many. Good. The Christian church is one of the biggest ones. Let's get the book of Daniel 7 and 23. Go ahead.
Reading from the book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 23. Thus said he, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon earth,
The fourth kingdom upon earth,
which shall be diverse from all kingdoms,
which shall be different from all the other kingdoms. Come on.
and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down, and break it in pieces.
And break it in pieces. So now, this final form that you see Babylon is in right now, right? Understand, Babylon has to retain its dominance by imposing these tariffs. That's part of it. Read that last part again. Shall devour the what?
And shall devour the whole earth,
Uh-huh.
and shall tread it down,
Uh-huh.
and break it in pieces.
How is it treading it down? Soldier Gabar? Okay, by taxes, tariffs, legislation. Who has to follow it? The whole world. They're maintaining their dominance. You understand that? So understand this current beast. Well, I should say, well, this current kingdom. All right? This current kingdom. It's going to be diverse from or different from all the other kingdoms. Now, when it says different, it's not talking about any difference in the methods in which it uses. Because we read in Ecclesiastes 1 that what? The things of the past shall be the things that are now. So it's not talking about necessarily this kingdom will be different in terms of the methodology it uses, but it's going to be different in terms of what? What is going to be different in terms of what? Who could tell me? Rulership, I mean, the rulership is set up similarly to how it was set up before. It's going to be different in terms of what? It says it's going to be diverse. Diverse means different. It's going to appear different. It's going to look different. It's not going to be different. But to those who are experiencing it, it's going to be like nothing they've ever experienced before. Because it looks different. It feels different. But it's not, it's the same concept. But it just looks different. Y'all get the point? The way you receive it, the way you interpret it different. In other words, you wouldn't link it back to Egypt. You wouldn't link it back to Babylon. But it looks and feels different in concept. Because of what? Who could tell me? Technology. Follow me. When technology comes on stream, it makes you feel like what? This is a new frontier that we've never, ever harbinged on. But do you know a lot of the technology that we're experiencing today, they had it back then? Hydroponics, that ain't new. Irrigation, that ain't new. Like all the irrigation systems. Like the way we used to send messages back then. There were technological means of doing so. Not because you have a phone device and you're now able to just send an instant message. We had the concept of these things even all the way back in ancient times. But it's just that as technology increases, as information increases, it says in the last days information shall increase, right? So it's going to feel different. You're going to receive it in a different way. To you, it's going to feel like I've never seen anything like this before. So these tariffs and taxes have to happen before the economy crashes, because when they crash the economy, what's going to happen? They're going to implement what? Digital what? Currencies. They're going to say it's going to be easier to pay your taxes, easier to pay your bills, easier to do everything that you're doing currently right now with cash money. It's going to be easier. So to you, it's going to seem like this is a great thing. That's why this kingdom, it will be different from all the others because of the technology it's going to implement. Y'all get the point? Good. So keep your eyes on technology. When Trump went into office, who he had standing next to him over here? Who? Elon Musk. Y'all don't realize what's... So it's going to be different from all the others because of the technology. But is the concept going to be the same? Yes. They have to maintain control economically over everything and everyone. It's just that it's going to look different to y'all because this technology is like y'all never seen nothing like this before. Elon Musk in the lab right now thinking of some things that y'all never heard of before, never seen before. They got AI things right now, Colonel. It looks so real. They could take a picture of you right there, just click, put it into the AI, and you would look like you're right here sitting down at the school talking and saying, well, yes, good afternoon. This is the Colonel here, and I just want to let everyone know that all nations can be saved and that we don't have to keep the laws anymore. And they just put that video out and they're going to be like, wait, did the Colonel say that? It looked like him. He at the school saying it on the mic, and it looks like you. There's some absolutely amazing AI that would trick your eye. And that's why I tell everyone, don't just share something when you see it, back check it and fact check it to make sure it's real. There's a site called AIchecker.com. It will tell you the algorithms in it that is comprised of if it's AI or not. And you yourself could do certain checks. Check to see if there's any eye blinking. Check to see if the voiceover, if it's real or not. Some of you so easily fooled out there. You don't know whether something real or not. You got to get with the times, man. But if you don't know, pass it on to someone to see if they could check. Don't be fooled by the things you're going to see coming out. All right? There's impersonation. Now, do you think impersonations are a new thing? What did Christ say in Matthew 24 and 24? There will be many what? Christ coming on the scene saying that they're him. Many people impersonating him, saying they're him, looking like him, speaking like him, talking like him, acting like him. We're not just now dealing with impersonations and replicas. Understand that? Good. So this kingdom is going to be different because of the technology. It's going to be different from all the other kingdoms. Matthew 24 and verse 6. Matthew chapter 24, verse 6.
Reading from the book of Matthew, chapter 24, and verse 6. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet.
So all these trade wars, tariff wars, tax wars, this part of the wars that's going to happen. Like I mentioned, don't just be looking for wars of guns and grenades and bombs only. That means you're only thinking surface level. Okay? There's digital warfare as well. You got to look for that as well, Brother Daniel. You know what digital warfare is? Okay, good. So when they start making cryptocurrency, people are going to learn how to hack those modules, hack those things, tap into mainframes of countries, stop the grid, stop certain things like the traffic lights, the banking system. There's digital warfare that's currently being harbinged on currently right now as we speak. Don't always think bombs and knives and grenades and scuds and Uzis, and don't always think that. Okay? These wars and rumors of wars, you're going to hear more about them. But understand they have to happen because the end is not yet. So these trade wars, as they call them, tariff wars, as you see, is causing friction between countries. They impose some of the highest ones on China. China decided to fire back as well by imposing their own. It's going to cause friction. But, of course, as we know, these rumors of wars have to happen because the Bible said, Christ said what? Read verse 7. He said, the end is not yet, but what? Watch this.
Verse 7. For nations shall rise against nations, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places.
But you got to think deeper. Don't just think on a surface level when it comes to the pestilences and it comes to the famines. Because they're already making bioengineered food. So the famine, think deeper. Don't think that there won't be food. There will be food, it's just that there won't be real food. You're going to be subject to eating bioengineered crap. You understand that? So when all this digital coin go on stream and then now you got to rely on them, what they want is total reliance. Total reliance on the beast system. The beast has to rise so that you have no choice but to rely on the beast for your livelihood. To eat, to drink, to live, to do everything that you need to do. The beast needs you to be a part of it because that's part of you pledging what? Allegiance to the beast. Once you pledge allegiance to the beast, you cannot pledge allegiance to the Most High. There's no two. There's no in between. There's no middle ground. You either pledge allegiance to the Most High God or you're relying on the system for your livelihood. You can't have both, Daniel. You understand that? You must rely on the Most High God completely by keeping His laws, statutes, and commandments and not rely on the beast system. Now, learn how to navigate and live amongst what's going on. But don't put your reliance on the beast. Learn to live in the midst of the beast, not relying on the beast. Okay? And we'll get into, how you can do so more effectively without selling out to the beast, without relying on the beast, because that's going to be very important and integral in how you navigate in this truth as the days go by. So, nation going to rise against nation. Guess what? It's happening right now. Nation going against nation right now with these tariff wars. It's causing tension and friction. Understand what's happening in the news. Okay? Kingdom against kingdom. They're going to be famines. Now, part of the famine is also going to go into some countries will be forced to not import foods from other countries. Some prices are going to go sky high through the roof. Nations rising against nations, famines, pestilences, all right? Think digital wars as well. Digital wars is coming on stream. It's already, now all this AI stuff, do you know it's part of the digital war that you don't know about? I mentioned this some time ago. AI is rewriting history. And y'all don't even know it. For those that use AI to do things like give you whole summaries on things, be very careful with that. AI will slip you a Mickey. Meaning, you didn't even realize the stuff in there that you're reading was actually, listen, AI, like things like ChatGPT, they are what you call LLMs. What's the LLM? Large language module. Now, the way they train the large language module is in a certain way whereby the information that it ingests, it points to different places on the internet where it takes information from. But the thing about information is, it's not so much what it ingests, it's where it get it from. Now, some people feel as though, Soldier Gabar, once you read something out of a book, it's right, true, and factual. You could write a book tomorrow, and you could put bare foolishness in the book. Does it mean that the book is factual and right and accurate? No. There's things called primary sources. A primary source is someone who was there. They wrote what happened from a first eyewitness account. How do you know it's a first eyewitness account? Because other cross-references that are primary sources also can corroborate and cross-reference that thing. But I don't want to get too deep into that because everyone is now using AI as a source. You cannot use AI as a source. AI just pulls sources. But the thing is, where it's pulling it from may not be accurate. And like I mentioned before, Soldier Gabar gave the AI the soldier's test to do, and it failed it miserably. Because it's just pulling information from what it's been taught. It's a large language module. So for those of you doing your homework, yeah, that's low level. You're doing your homework using ChatGPT. But when it comes to higher things like understanding the breakdowns to these scriptures, AI cannot do that for you. I'm sorry. You understand that? So now, digital wars. That's going to be part of the wars as well. All right? Be very careful with all this AI stuff. Use it to do this. Like, okay, you're planning an event. And you have a list of things that you want on the event. Just give it to the AI to compile it, put it into a nice document. Use it for that. But when you're going to use AI to actually create whole synopses of things, it's rewriting history. And you don't even realize it. You understand that? Be very careful. Good. Give me Matthew 24 and we just read that, Matthew 24 and 7. Give me 2nd Ezra 16 and 21 in the Apocrypha. 2nd Ezra chapter 16. Second Ezra 16 and verse 21.
Reading from the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 16 and verse 21. Behold, victual shall be so good, cheap upon earth.
Victuals shall be so good, cheap upon the earth. So this is coming. So mind you, Esau has to do what? Impose these things, impose these taxes and tariffs. So eventually they could swoop in and do what? Read it again from the top.
Victual shall be so good, cheap upon earth.
This is coming, whereby they're going to be the knight in shining armor, where they're going to reduce everything low, dirt cheap. Read on.
That they shall think themselves to be in good case, and even then shall evil grow upon earth, sword, famine, and great confusion.
Read on.
Verse 22. For many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine, and the others that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy.
So Esau knows, after imposing these tariffs and these trade wars, they're going to go back and forth for a little while. You're going to see it happening. Countries going to fire back. They're going to retaliate with their own tariffs. But what's going to happen is they're going to come to some agreement. Things are going to go down. Things are going to get very dirt cheap. Understand what's going to happen. You got to have your eyes peeled. Know what's happening out there on the world stage. It says victuals, meaning goods, going to be very cheap upon the earth. And people are going to think this is a good thing, right? But it says at that time, evils are going to grow upon the earth. So you got to be aware of what's to come. But it says, many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of what? Famine. And the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. So even if you escape the famine and you have some food growing, and I know some people right now who not in the truth, who growing food, who, by show of hands, show me if you know there's people that you know right now, they're not in the truth, but they're growing food. They're growing food. Will that food save them? No. No. It says those who escape the hunger, something else going to take them out. The sword, the sword, the sword. Y'all understand that? And understand the Most High's sword ain't just limited to a physical sword like the gun. His sword, when you read the book of Psalms, his sword comes in the form of the other nations implementing things on you that can kill you. Understand that? So don't just think surface. There's many ways the Most High can bring his sword. All right? But understand this. They have to appear as a knight in shining armor so that they can do what? Bluff you, pull the wool over your eyes. In other words, I present to you a problem, Soldier Gabar, but I also provide the solution as well. Perfect balance, right? I cause the problem, but I also provide you with the solution so that you will see me as a what? A hero. You would forget about the fact that I was the one who caused the problem. That's how I trick you. And that's how the other nations have been tricking you. Okay? They're the cause and the solution at the same time. Let's get the book of Revelation 13 and verse 11. Revelation 13 and verse 11. So you got to keep your eyes peeled, brothers and sisters. Understand what's happening and how it's going to happen and pay attention. Go ahead.
Reading from the book of Revelation, chapter 13, verse 11. And I behold another beast coming up out of the earth. And he had two horns like a lamb. And he spoke as a dragon.
And he spoke as a dragon. Read on.
And he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and caused the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed.
So now it says, I beheld another beast. So there's different beasts, okay? Different beasts, different systems. Like I mentioned to you, that's going into the different systems of the world. There's religion, there's education, there's the health, the pharmaceutical, that falls under health. You know what's one of the world's major religions? Christianity, right? What's another major institution in the earth? The economic institution, right? All of these, Esau runs all of them. Most, if not all. Esau runs them. The health system, the economic system, the religious system. Now there's some other nations. Check 1, 2. There's some other nations, of course. They make up a large faction of religions as well, like the Arabians, that have the Muslim religion. The Muslim religion is pretty big. It's pretty large. But Christianity, is one of the largest. You understand that? I think the Muslims come in second place. All right? So now, it says, I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, but he spake as a dragon. So what is that going into? Like a lamb. Now, why is it using lamb? Lamb is going into Yahushua the Christ, the atonement for sin, right? But it's an illusion. It's not a lamb. It's not the atonement for sin. It's something else. It's something more sinister. It's something that would trick you. It spoke like a dragon. So it's not the atoning lamb. You think it's the lamb. You think it's going to atone for your sin. What's the thing that you think? That when you're in it, you think you're on the way to the kingdom. Oh, okay. So Christianity allows you to think like you have the lamb atoning for your sin. But then the things that come out of Christianity's mouth, the thing that come out of their doctrine is what? Things that go against the Bible. They spoke as a dragon. In other words, the things, okay. Christianity is another word for what? Modern day what? Who could tell me? So Christianity is modern day. Okay, let's take off the modern day. Let's just call it what it is. It's a 2-part phrase. Christianity begins with W. The first word begins with W, and the last word begins with S. So Christianity is white supremacy. So now, when the book of Revelation mentions the red dragon, who's the red dragon? Okay, good. So if Esau is the red dragon, Christianity came from who? Esau. Read that for me again.
And I behold another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon.
Okay, so it's like a lamb, but it's not a lamb. It's speaking as a dragon. Y'all get the point? Who's the dragon? Good. But the doctrine that's coming out of Esau's mouth is what? Christianity. But you're thinking it's lamb-like. You're thinking it's atoning for your sin, but it's not. You on the way to the lake. Sounds very good, but it's a deception. Read on.
And he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and caused the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed.
So they cause everybody to be. You ever realize this, Soldier Gabar? People who don't even go to church, they believe in Christian fables. They don't go to church, but they believe in Christianity. That's how the whole world believes Christianity. Good. Give me verse 13.
Verse 13. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men.
So this is another faction of the beast as well. The fire coming down is going into the wars and all right? So Esau is responsible, for all those wars and firepower and, all those things that's going into the wars of the modern day Babylon, that they would go to war with other countries. Okay? It's going into that. That great wonders, the great technology, the great armory they have, the great technologies, and the great war components that they have, right? He maketh fire come down from the sky. Okay, bombs and grenades and Scud missiles, surface-to-air missiles. That's the fire in the sky in the sight of men is talking about. All right? So that's another faction of the beast. But they want to have total control over you. They want you to know how much power they wield and hold. Because if you don't abide by their systems, guess what's going to happen? They're going to unleash their great power on you. You understand that? The great wonders, they're going to unleash that on you. Give me verse 14.
Verse 14. And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword, and did live.
And of course, you know that image to the beast. That's also going into white Jesus. All right? Caesar Borgia. But everyone on the earth get deceived by those false miracles. All right? That nation had power to do. All right? In the sight of the beast. All right? So understand what it is. Esau lived by the sword. How you know that? When you go back to Genesis, what did his father bless him with when he begged his father, I know you got at least one more blessing to give me. He told him he's going to live by the what? The sword. So once you know the scriptures, you know who this is going back into. Who rules the whole earth. He's using the power that was blessed to him, given to him. Understand, the Most High is who ultimately gave it to him. That's why these things are happening. All right? But I want you to understand why it's happening. Give me verse 15.
Verse 15. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Should be killed. You understand that? So there's coming a time that when it comes to this truth, you're going to be killed for this truth because you're not conforming to what the beast wants. You understand that? In other words, you're not selling out for the system that controls the world. You're standing resolute in your faith. Why? Because the system is going to implement some things that's going to make you by default go against your morals, go against your beliefs, go against your ideologies of this truth, and it's going to cause you to have to stand firm and die for this truth. That's what that's going into. Everyone gets it? Read on. Verse 16. And he caused all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads.
Read on.
And that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name.
So that's part of total control right there. They control what you buy, how you buy. They control who buys and who doesn't buy. They even control which countries could buy. They control the trade. They control, listen, this beast, right? Mystery Babylon. They control which countries can buy, which countries cannot buy. Which countries we're going to tax, which ones that we're going, little tax, big tax. They control all of it. You understand that? And it says that no man might buy or sell except he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Read on.
Verse 18. Here is the wisdom. Let him that had understanding count the number of the beast.
Count the number of the beast.
For it is the number of a man.
Of a what?
Of a man.
Okay, it's the number of a man. Watch this.
And his number is 666.
Good. So that's 666. That number is going into the number of a man. We already know who that man is because the man of perdition has already been revealed. That man is Esau. That red dragon that's mentioned in Revelation is going into Esau. He rose to prominence and subdued kingdoms by that kingdom. That kingdom broke other kingdoms into pieces. World dominance, world control. That's what this is going into. But here's the thing. His number is 666. And it's just a number of the 2/3 that will follow and who will sell out and who will not come back to this truth. You understand that? So when you divide 2 divided by 3, you will get 0.666. The 2/3. 2/3, 2 over 3, you're going to get 0.666. That's just going into the number of those who will choose the way of the beast, choose the way of sin, choose to not come back to these commandments, because 2/3 must be cut off according to prophecy. Let's get Zechariah 13 and verse 8.
Reading from the book of Zechariah chapter 13 and verse 8. And it shall come to pass that in all the land, said the Lord, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein.
So 2 parts are going to be cut off. The 2/3, they're going to die. They're going to follow the beast. They're going to follow the system. They're going to give in to whatever legislations that they impose. All right. So the tariffs and the taxes is just the precursor to the wars and the rumors of wars. It's part of it. When the countries strike back with their own tariffs, you know, America got to swoop in. Babylon got to swoop in as the knight in shining armor. Reduced rates, reduced taxes, victuals gone low, victuals gone cheap. Everything seems good, everything seems nice. It says right around the corner looming is great tribulation, great turmoil, great anguish. Great evils are around the corner. But for those of you that know the scriptures and understand the scriptures, you can understand the timeline or the chronology of what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and how it's going to happen. It's for you to really get these things, these dots connected for you. You understand? But 2 parts are going to be cut off. That's the 2/3. That's the 666, the 0.666. That's the number of a man. That man is Esau. That's the man of perdition. That's the son of perdition. Okay? The red dragon. All praises. So, we're going to stop there today. I hope you got enough information so you can understand what's happening with the tariffs, taxes, tribulation, all right, rise of the beast system. And understand this, the beast system wants to retain and maintain total control. Just like Esau, when you was on the plantation field, had total control of you, what you eat, what you drink, what you wear. It's the same thing today. But they want to take it a step further, okay? They want to make sure that every aspect of your life is controlled. They want to control how much power you use in your house. They want to have 15-minute cities whereby everything will be available within the 15-minute radius of where you live. And they're already in discussions right now of how they're going to implement these 15-minute cities. So you wouldn't have to leave from far from your house to go and get things. They're trying to also build a whole building and have within the building, you live in the building, it's a whole apartment. It's going up to the sky, like 500 rooms, and it would house thousands of families, right? And they want to have them next to each other, like just tall, monumental buildings. And in those buildings, the stores are in there, the schools are in there. That don't sound like a jail cell to you. That sounds like a jail cell. So you won't have to leave your house to, and they said now when it comes to transportation, cars that you drive today will be a thing of the past. They want to now go all fully electric. So the electric cars will be controlled. They can be turned on and off at the switch of a button. Boom. If you have fines against you, your car doesn't start. You got bills that you needed to pay or taxes, you won't be able to partake in things in society. You'll be shut off from society. They shut off your electricity. They shut off your car. If you go in the store and swipe your car, oh well, you swipe your chip, boop, it's not going to go through. And for those of you that's saying, well, I ain't going to get no chip, then you're going to have to find a way to partake in society some other way. But we'll get into that another time. All praises. So we want to give all praises, honor, and glory to the Most High Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. Thank you for joining us today on today's class. All praises. Do we got any questions in the comment section? No questions. All right. Do we got any questions in-house? If not, don't forget to give your donations, your alms, your contributions. The description is in the description bar. Whether you're giving via PayPal or MoBanking, the information is there. All praises. So with that, we're going to close out. We say shalom, Most High in Christ bless.